Another way to describe principles are ideals. They are benchmarks set at a level that are impossible to attain 100% of the time, but just because they are not attainable targets does not mean they are useless. Principles are directionally useful. Just like how followers of Christianity will never reach the perfect standard set by Jesus Christ in the Bible, the goal to emulate him is a directionally sound ideal worth chasing for many. Since principles and ideals are lofty goals that we know we can never attain, it is easy to throw the baby out with the bathwater when we falter on a resolution to our principles. Think about how many people give up on fitness 1 month after their New Year's resolution. This frequently happens when a principle lives in an isolated context. Ideals don't work well in isolation. They may provide direction in this state, but only momentarily. Principles must be weaved together into a story for us to internalize a sense of meaning from them. Without stories, we would swim in a sea of meaningless instincts, perceptions, data points, and ideals. Stories package these in a format that allows us to extract a sense of meaning or purpose. Tell someone a random statistic, and you'll likely be greeted with a blank stare, but package that same statistic into a captivating story, and it springs to life with meaning. As we discussed in Chapter 2, healthy influence from your heart gives you meaning, while denying your heart denies your sense of meaning. In the cybernetic sense, stories serve as an input to your heart, and your heart uses these to output a sense of meaning. Stories and their sense of meaning are a large part of who we are. We resonate with epic characters like Odysseus, Harry Potter, and Luke Skywalker because we can see ourselves in them, both in their heroics and their flaws. We all walk through similar situations as these heroes, with calls to adventure, challenges, tribulations, and rebirths. Viewing the obstacles we face through a heroic lens gives us a sense of meaning rather than a sense of dread. When we view our life through the lens of an epic story, we have faith that we will arise like a phoenix. In other words, we trust the process. Fortunately, we have the authority to author our own story. There are certain facts of life, but they can be packaged to create wildly different stories. Let's say you had a troublesome childhood. You could choose to package that detail as the beginning of a long string of tragedy and author a self-fulfilling prophecy of demise. Or you could author an epic tale where these tribulations lead to the character development necessary for a heroic life. The many stories we tell ourselves govern how we live. One story is critical to relax the stress of life's impending decisions, the story of our future. This is the story that adds context to the principles we identified in the previous chapter. It answers two critical questions. How will we leverage our ideals? Who do we wish to become? The story that answers these questions combats the existential dread associated with nihilism. By creating a vision of the future based on our principles, we author our own sense of meaning that is intimately connected to what is most important to us. Creating such a vision is largely driven by the heart. It isn't an assessment of what is realistic. Rather, it is a heroic story retroactively explaining what ideals we leverage to become the protagonist we forecasted. Again, time to disconnect from consumption and activity is critical to hear your heart's perspective on such a topic. Once you've heard what your heart says you should do, it is a simple matter of telling yourself the story that leverages these desires. Of course, the author says this in simple, matter-of-fact language, but such a personal endeavor can be difficult to do. If you want all the answers on building this vision, look elsewhere. A how-to on such a personal process should not be prescribed without context. All the author can offer is the guidance to listen to your heart. Once you have authored your future, decisions become much easier since you can easily weigh whether they fit within your story. Maktub. The first two parts of this book focused on laying a foundation for your decisions through the introduction of our decision-making archetypes, how they can fall into disarray, and the formulation of guiding principles, identities, and a future story through self-reflection. The next part will serve as a guided meditation for weighing an individual decision within this paradigm.